Santinamani. Hey, Saraswati Devi, Gauravani, Pachalini, Nivasesha Sunyavadi. Pashtakar Satarine, Jai Sri Krishna, Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shiva Sati Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay, Hare Krishna. So let's put the material world aside and let's dive into Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Hare Krishna. I like to do a little, as I usually do, a little synopsis of what we covered last week. So we've got the context of where we left off and where we're going to pick it up. So Lord Brahma is speaking to Narada, and he's refuting Narada's praises of himself. And then he goes on to glorify Lord Shiva. So there's a wonderful description of Lord Shiva, and there's more coming as well. So he describes Lord Shiva. He has no attachments. His only attachment is loving devotion to the Lord. And he gives he gives mercy only to the devotees. Sometimes, the Lord tolerates, if there's any offenses of Lord Shiva, the Lord tolerates that. And then Lord Brahma speaks of himself, when Lord Shiva gives benediction to devotees, but he, for instance, Brahma gave benediction to Hiranyakasipu, who then caused chaos throughout the three worlds. Yeah. And he mentioned also that after killing Hiranyakasipu, all the demigods were there, including Lord Brahma, but the Lord wouldn't even look at Lord Brahma, wouldn't even look at him. Yeah. Although he gave, then Prahlad approached him and he gave lots of mercy to Prahlad. He also mentions that he, Brahma, gives benedictions to wicked demons like Ravana as well. And he didn't even want to mention the name Ravana for how much anxiety and grief that he actually caused. And he also mentions that Brahma, he appoints demigods who also make big mistakes, like Indra. So Brahma feels himself responsible for Indra's trying to devastate Vrindavan, the Govardhan Leela. So then Lord Brahma brings up that how he recently stole the calves and the boys, we know that pastime. Yeah. So he's think that, as far as Lord Brahma is concerned, that excludes him from receiving the Lord's full mercy. Yeah. And then he goes on to glorify Lord Shiva as being a very dear friend to the Lord, and he's always intoxicated with the taste of Lord Krishna's lotus feet. Yeah. By Krishna's grace, Lord Shiva can actually give liberation, and he even, by his mercy, some of his devotees have become pure devotees. Sometimes, even when Lord Shiva is in trouble, then the Lord comes to help him. And he mentions the greatness of Lord Shiva as drinking the poison from the churning of the milk ocean. So that's what we read last week from, So now we'll begin in text 95. But let's try and remember, let's see if we can memorize the different devotees. The first one is there, I'll ask this each week, the first devotee that was spoken about.
Brahmana.
The Brahmana.
From where?
Prayag.
Prayag, yeah. Prayag pharmacy, remember it like that, you mentioned last week. And after that, it was the
South Indian.
South Indian.
King.
South Indian.
Yes.
The Southern King, no.
Yeah.
Then the king, that's Bomba. Then it goes to Divya, heavenly realms. Then it goes to Indra. And next is
Brahma. No?
Brahma, yeah. And next is going to be Lord Shiva. Yeah. And in today's reading, we're going to leave the earthly realms and we're going to the transcendental abode of Lord Shiva. So that's going to be described very nicely. So we're going to We've been on earth, Boma, we've gone to heaven, and now we're going out of the material world into the higher planets where Lord Shiva resides. So that's going to be described now. And so let me just share my screen so we can. So you can see that now. Is okay, we're ready to leave the heavenly planets and go up. So Mother Sarachari, you have your hand up as usual first. Well done. Okay, you can take it up from text 95.
Thank you. Text 95. Yatahi Krishno Bhagavan Madra Sambhakti Yantritha Mamlokes Swar Adaucha Vasati Uchaitali Laya. Just as the personality of Godhead, Krishna, brought under control by the devotion of servants like me, resides on my planet and in heaven and elsewhere. Lord Shiva lives in Kailash, displaying suitable pastimes. Commentary. The Supreme Lord reciprocates with his best devotees in this world, Brahma, Kashyapa, and so on, by living with them personally in heaven, below heaven on the earth, above heaven on Maharloka, and elsewhere. In each incarnation, the Lord appears with suitable pastime, paraphernalia, family, and friends. Text 96. Now let me tell you the opinion of the Vayu Purana. The abode of Sri Mahadev lies outside the 7 coverings of the universe. Commentary. The material universe is enclosed within 7 concentric shells made of earth and the other basic elements. Outside them all lies the imperishable realm of Lord Shiva. In contrast to all the planets inside the shells, planets that are temporary products of material nature, this abode of Lord Shiva is not a creation of Maya. In Shivaloka, there is no unhappiness. That world is attained by the best of Lord Shiva's devotees. The ones who understand him to be non-different from Sri Krishna, not the Shaivites who are karmis or gnanis, or who worship Lord Shiva as an independent supreme controller. Text 97 and 98. Eternal and full of happiness, the abode is absolutely real. It can be attained by the best of Lord Shiva's servants. There, Lord Shiva, served by the most excellent regalia, reveals him in his full splendor, surrounded by companions who share opulence and beauty equal to his. As his personal deity, he worships Lord Sankarshana, non-different from himself. What amazing wonders does Lord Shiva in this manifestation do not display? Manifestation not display. Commentary. In his original abode, Lord Shiva displays his full opulence, including ever-existing palaces and airplanes, and his unequaled personal assets of religion, wealth, sense enjoyment, liberation, and devotion to the Supreme Lord. His emblems of rulership, such as his jewelry, tamara, fans, and royal umbrella, surpass those of Brahma and the other demigods. On Shivaloka, Lord Shiva always worships the personality of Godhead in his form as Sri Sankarshana, who has thousands of serpent hoods. Both Lord Sankarshana and his expansion, Lord Shiva, are incarnations of the Supreme Godhead, and so they are non-different. When the time comes from the material universe to be annihilated, Rudra, the destroyer, appears from Sri Sankarshana. That Rudra is the specific aspect of Lord Shiva, who presides over the material mode of ignorance. Everyone who sees Lord Shiva worshipping Sankarshana, one expansion of the Supreme, worshipping another, becomes astonished, especially when Lord Shiva dances in ecstasy and offers wonderful prayers. Lord Shiva's worship of Sri Sankarshana can also be seen in the earthly planetary system in Ilavrata Varsha, as Sukadeva Goswami describes in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 17. Text 99. You have the power to go there because you have pure devotion for him. Therefore, go take shelter of him and see the real mercy of Krishna. Commentary. Because Narada respects Lord Shiva properly as an expansion non-different from Lord Krishna, and therefore loves Lord Shiva with spontaneous devotion. There is no bar to his entering Shivaloka. If Narada is to go there and take shelter of Lord Shiva by offering respects and praise, he will be able to see the mercy of Krishna in the ecstasy and opulences of Lord Shiva. Text 100. Sri Parikshit said, "My dear mother, after Narada received these instructions, he departed for Shivaloka with joyful anticipation, chanting Shiva Krishna." Commentary. The gist of Brahma's advice to Narada is that he should have faith in Lord Shiva as non-different from Lord Sri Krishna. Even though this advice was familiar to Narada, he was inspired to hear it. He welcomed the opportunity Brahma was giving him to show the world the extent of Lord Shiva's glories. He was also curious about what he would find when he arrived at Shivaloka. Thus ends the second chapter of part 1 of Srila Sanatana Goswami Brihad Bhagavatamrita, entitled Divya in Heaven.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mother. Perhaps we'll just pause there as we leave Divya and we go to Papanchatita, beyond the material world. So we're going to hear about, I think we discussed before, that Lord Shiva's Tatwa is often difficult to understand. One of the reasons he has many expansions. So we heard about one expansion called Rudra, who resides over the material world. He has other expansions as well. Is there any questions on that?
Prabhu, I just have to say about Shiva, now that we're going to read. This we're going to, as he was being discussed, that's Sada Shiva, not Shiva as we worship. So that's why it's mentioned he's not different from Krishna.
Oh, so yeah, here we go, getting into Tatwa Lord Shiva. So Sada Shiva.
Sada Shiva is where we are going to go, to Shivaloka.
Oh, Shivaloka, okay.
Yeah.
And it's different from?
Different from the material, like Shivites, who worship the Shiva, Lord Shiva.
Okay.
So that's different. So where we are going to go is Sada Shiva.
Yeah, I think it was mentioned.
And that was verified by Kartik Chandra, because I asked him a question.
So Kailash and Shivaloka are different?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So Shivaloka is now where we're going now.
Yeah.
And Kailash is where?
Kailash is in the material realm.
Oh, really? Okay.
And now we're leaving the material realm and going to the upper planets. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Thank you for that. Anyone else knows any more details of Shiva Tatva, you can please let us know as well, kind of fill out our understanding. But it's probably this abode, Papanchatita, is it correct to say that this wouldn't be created by Lord Brahma? Lord Brahma only created the material worlds. Is that correct understanding? That's what I was thinking when I was hearing that in the purple.
Suvarna, you are muted, so we can't hear you.
Oh, I'm muted, am I?
no.
Muted.
No. I think if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but that is not creation. Shivaloka is not creation of Brahma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, let's confirm, because that's what it referred to.
Yeah.
In the purple, in the commentary. And
Yeah.
also we heard about, there was a distinction made, which you have made, that the best devotees of Lord Shiva, they actually attain this place beyond the material world,
Yes.
in what's known as Shiva Loka, but they worship him as the worshipper of Lord Shankarshan.
Yeah.
Whereas here in the material realm, persons worship Lord Shiva as the supreme. Yeah.
It says at the bottom of commentary for text 96, the last bit, it says that.
Yeah. So that stuck out for me when I was hearing that. That's kind of, I mean, we know that distinction, but that distinction has been made again. So those who actually get those are real devotees of Shiva. They actually reside with him in an abode beyond the material world, and they worship him, and he worships Lord Shankarshan. And I think it was referred to also in the 5th canto, there's chapter 17. There's wonderful prayers of Lord Shiva to Shankarshan. And it's wonderful, actually. Lord Shiva, I think he's praying to the different forms of the Lord. The forms of the Lord that reside over the mind, the forms of the Lord that reside over the false ego, the forms of the Lord that reside over intelligence. And he's praying to each of these forms of the Lord in order to be directed completely and wholly to the lotus feet of Lord Shankarshan. It's wonderful prayers of Lord Shiva to Shankarshan. So Lord Shiva's worshipful deity is Shankarshan, who's also an expansion, like Lord Shiva, of the Lord, which is interesting. That was mentioned as well. Yeah, Shankarshan. Ultimately, everyone comes from Krishna. So Lord Shiva is an extraordinary personality. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to meet him. Yeah. We should be so blessed. But he's very powerful, very, very mysterious, as we heard before, wasn't it? The things he decorates himself with. Normally, demigods decorate themselves with jewels and silk, but he decorates himself with skulls and snakes, and wraps weeds around him. We heard sometimes there's pictures of scorpions crawling in his hair. He has no regard to any residence. And his wife is extremely powerful as well, Durga. Yes. So let's hear a bit more about the glories of Lord Shiva. We shall hear about the glories of Lord Shiva until Lord Shiva has had enough.
Yes.
And he's going to tell Narada what he thinks of that glorification. All right, so Manakamavi, you'd like to read, take us beyond the material world?
Yes. Sorry, text 1 to 4. Sri Parikshit said, arriving in Shiva Loka, from a distance the sage Narada saw Lord Shiva, Sri Hara, who had just finished his worship of Lord Shankarshan. Sri Hari entranced in ecstatic love. Lord Shiva was dancing and loudly singing the glories of his Lord, while his associates played instrumental music and shouted, Jaya, Jaya. With great affection, he praised his assistants like Nanda Shivara, as well as the goddess Uma, who was expertly clapping her hands. The sight of all this delighted Narada. Vibrating his veena and nodding his head to show respect, he called out several times, you are the greatest recipient of Krishna's mercy. And in a sweet voice, he recounted to Lord Shiva everything just told him by their father, Lord Brahma. Commentary. Lord Shiva had just finished worshipping his deity, Lord Shankarshan. The ritual of his worship was similar to those Narada had witnessed on earth at Prayag. But at the end of the worship, Lord Shiva displayed the symptoms of ecstasy described in this verse. Worship of Supreme Lord's deity attracts both neophytes and advanced souls, but Vaishnavas who are fully self-realized enjoy intimate relationships with their worshipful deity. For such Vaishnavas, the Lord's acceptance of even the simplest act of devotion brings profound devotional ecstasies. Thus, Narada found Lord Shiva in a trance of Sankirtana, reciting prayers to Lord Shankarshan, similar to those recorded in 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. O my Lord, you are the only worshipable person, for you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the reservoir of all opulences. Your secure lotus feet are the only source of protection for all your devotees, whom you satisfy by manifesting yourself in various forms. O my Lord, you deliver your devotees from the clutches of material existence. Non-devotees, however, remain entangled in material existence by your will. Kindly accept me as your eternal servant. Since Lord Shiva is an incarnation of the personality of Godhead, and Lord Shiva and the personality of Godhead are therefore non-different. Lord Shiva does not worship to sorry.
Does not need.
Yeah, sorry. Lord Shiva does not need to worship Lord Shankarshana to be purified from material illusion. Lord Shiva performs worship externally with standard paraphernalia to educate the world about the transcendental taste of devotional service. Brahma is also considered an incarnation of Godhead, but Shiva and Brahma are not equal in status. Lord Shiva is non-different from Vishnu in a more literal sense. The post of Brahma is almost always occupied by a jiva, whereas no jiva can ever become Shiva Tatwa. Many statements from revealed scriptures characterize Lord Shiva as non-different from Lord Vishnu. For example, in the Padma Purana, the Brahma Kanda 25.15, in the description of the 10 offenses against Lord Vishnu's holy names were read. One who sees difference between any of Lord Shiva's qualities and names and those of Sri Vishnu is an antagonist to Harinama. There are no similar injunctions about the non-difference of Brahma and Vishnu. Authorized scriptures state that persons like Vishishta, who are certainly finite jivas, will become Lord Brahma in their own universe in future lives. Theoretically, any jiva soul can attain the post of Brahma, as Lord Shiva told the Prachatis. A person who strictly executes his occupational duty without deviation for 100 births becomes qualified to occupy the post of Brahma. And if he becomes more qualified, he can approach me, Lord Shiva. These words state that a jiva can join Lord Shiva, not that he can become Shiva. Narada has included Lord Shiva in his search for recipients of the Supreme Lord's mercy, because Lord Shiva is a special incarnation of the Lord in the form of his own devotee. The followers of Lord Shiva, whom Narada saw on Shiva Loka, were all great Vaishnavas, who deeply imbibed their master's mood of Vishnu Bhakti. Lord Shiva praised them for their artistic accompaniments, especially his consort Parvati for her hand clapping, because their performance was manifested directly from pure devotion. Witnessing all this, Narada also became ecstatic. He danced so enthusiastically that he was unable to offer prostrate obeisances, and since he did not want to stop playing his veena, he showed respect simply by nodding his head. Then, wanting to say something to show approval of Lord Shiva's behavior, he proceeded to recount what Brahma had told him about Lord Shiva's glories. Text 5 to 6. Narada came closer, hoping to touch the dust of the lotus feet of Lord Shiva, the best friend of the Vaishnavas. But as the sage came near, Lord Shiva, a flood of Krishna consciousness, pleasure driving him wild, forcibly drew Narada closer and embraced him. Without hesitating, he asked Narada with respect, "Dear son of Brahma, what are you saying?" Commentary. Totally absorbed in ecstasy, Lord Shiva, when turning to greet Narada, at first found what Narada was telling him difficult to understand. Text 7 to 8. Absorbed in the taste of talking with the superlative Vaishnav Narada, Lord Shiva then stopped his playful dancing and sat down. He sat on a straw mat in the Virasana posture, and a few of his gentle companions seated themselves around him. With devotion, Narada bowed down to Lord Shiva, the life and soul of Parvati, and chanted the 16-syllable Rudra mantra. Commentary. One who is observing a serious vow should sit on a kusha mat, called a rishi, according to the meditative hero's posture, which expresses one's firm determination. This asana is defined in the Yoga Shastra. The Rudra Sad Angaka is a mantra of the Vedas. It begins with the words Namaste, Namaste. Text 9. Narada then received praise, glorifying Lord Shiva as the supreme controller of the universe, and elaborately proclaimed the fullness of the mercy bestowed upon Shiva by Lord Krishna. Text 10. Lord Rudra, the best of the Vaishnavas, the initiator of devotional service to Vishnu, at once covered his ears and angrily replied. Commentary. Vaishnavam Maheshwara. Of all Vaishnavas, Lord Maheshwara is the greatest. He is the greatest Vaishnava because he initiates the teaching of pure devotional service. He founded the Rudra Sampradaya, one of the 4 authentic Vaishnava schools. He is most famous as a Vaishnava than an incarnation of Vishnu. Text 11. Sri Rudra said, I am not the Lord of the universe, nor an object of Krishna's mercy. I am just a poor soul, always hankering for the favor of the servants of his servants. Commentary. I can only hanker for the mercy of Krishna's servants because I am not fortunate enough to have it. Text 12. Sri Parikshit said, upon hearing this, the sage Narada was once shocked, thinking he had acted offensively. He had at once stopped praising Lord Shiva's non-difference from Krishna and began to speak in a soft voice. Text 13. Sri Narada said, you certainly know the confidential mysteries, glories of Lord Vishnu and the Vaishnavas, and you expertly explain these glories. Commentary. Although the greatness of the Lord and his devotees is a fathomless mystery, Lord Shiva and other empowered Vaishnava acharyas are able to help ordinary conditioned souls to understand it. Narada hopes Lord Shiva will accept praise, at least on this account. Text 14. The best Vaishnavas therefore aspire for your mercy. Lord Krishna also has great regard for you and extensively spreads your glories. Commentary. Krishna spreads the fame of Lord Shiva, sometimes through representatives and sometimes himself. Text 15. Has Krishna not worshipped you many times in various incarnations and taken from you many boons? Commentary. Those who want to see examples of Lord Shiva's bestowing a boon upon Krishna can read the Dana Dharma section and other parts of the Vamana Purana, which describes how Sri Krishna received the Sudarshan Chakra and how Shamba became his son. Text 16. Sri Parikshit said, hearing this, Lord Shiva could no longer maintain his gravity. Ashamed, he sprang to his feet, covered Narada's mouth with both hands and said, don't even mention the arrogance of mine. Commentary. Lord Shiva felt embarrassed to be reminded that he had offered benedictions to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Okay, perhaps we'll pause there. Yeah, let me just go back one page. Yeah, here. Yeah. Anyway, any comments on this? Well, Lord Shiva is now becoming very concerned. He jumped up. He's covering Narada's mouth with both his hands. Keep quiet, keep quiet. So it sounds like at the beginning there, Lord Shiva is worshipping Shankarshan. Then in the commentary, it mentions, it seemed to indicate that it was a deity he was worshipping, although I might be mistaken. Because in the commentary, it mentions he was doing the full worship. But I might be mistaken there.
Yeah, I thought it's a deity of Sankarshan, because he had all the paraphernalia.
Yeah, although that paraphernalia can be used to worship the Lord personally, but Gopi Pranada specifically was speaking about the deity. So that's not so unusual, of course, because the deity is non-different.
Yeah.
But interesting to get a picture, because he's worshipping perhaps in his abode, and where he has a temple, worshipping the Lord very nicely. And as we all know, also mentioned that the position of Shiva is not open. It's not an open post for any jiva. Yeah. Is Lord Shiva eternal?
He is eternal.
So he is eternal.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when Nitai and I were reading something in Bhagavatam, I think it said that he wasn't eternal. I'm not sure. There was something that we were confused about. It was a little, because I thought it was eternal, but
well, the fact that no one takes his position, because that's how we can identify that Lord Brahma's post is not eternal. Well, as we know, Lord Brahma lives for 100 years relative to Divya, and then his life comes to an end, and then another Jiva.
many Brahmas, different Brahmas for each universe and things.
Yeah, but we never hear anything about that in regards to Lord Shiva. It's not like there's different Lord Shivas or.
I don't remember what we read, but it was quite confusing, even for Nitai Mata, because she's a great fan of Lord Shiva, and she was confused by it. But, I mean, maybe we didn't quite understand it, but it was a little ambiguous about his eternality, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, also, yeah.
This was clarified by Kartik Chandra, because when we were reading it, and so I went back to him with a question, and he clearly said that he is eternal because as you mentioned, Prabhu, his post is permanent. It's not like Brahma's. It's only from Brahma downwards that we are replaceable or whatever.
Yeah.
Our life come to an end.
So he comes into manifestation in different creations.
Yes.
Because we know he is manifest from Brahma's forehead, isn't it? Lord Brahma being
third eye,
being angry with the Kumaras for not wanting to become Prajapatis. You know, they went to join the nearest temple, became brahmacharis. But he had different ideas for them. So Lord Shiva then came. So that doesn't necessarily negate his being eternal.
no,
I'm saying he's manifest. Okay,
No,
so there's some expressions of Shiva that are not eternal.
That is Sadashiva, who is eternal.
And what about the other Rudra expansions?
I think somewhere there, the one that comes from like the forehead, the third eye, is Rudra in his angry mood.
Yes, yeah.
Well, there's 12 Rudras.
There are 12 Rudras. Like the 12 lingas in India that you go and, the Shivites go and
so my question is, are all the Rudras eternal?
That I don't know. And that's a question again for Kartik Chandra.
Another question for Kartik Chandra. You can note the question down.
Yes.
No, in Canto 8, Chapter 12, we were doing that, and it says that Lord Shiva is not a Vishnu Tatwa, nor is he a Jiva Tatwa. He's in between.
It's another category, Yeah, he's in his own tattva. He has his own tattva. Yeah, sometimes devotees jokingly accuse each other of being in their own tattva. He's like, no one can get through to your own tattva. So he has his own tattva, which is a different science completely. If you study Jiva Tattva, you can understand somewhat Jiva Tattva's relationship with Krishna, Jiva Tattva's relationship with the two world, and some again. And even Vishnu Tattva, we can hear about the expansions and the expansions of the expansions. But Shiva Tattva, it's another science completely. How it works and the expansions and position. So it's, we can try to understand. We can give Lord Shiva some, we can give him some amusement. Us Lord Shiva is trying to understand him. But also sometimes it's quite mentioned quite a few times there of his non-difference from the Lord. Of course, we immediately understand what that does not mean. It doesn't mean the complete sense of the term as some worshippers here. worship Lord Shiva.
Yeah.
But but anyway, he's considered, also in the Brahma Samhita, he's compared to, is it milk? I always get this example mixed up. Milk and curds. It's the same thing, but it has different form.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Lord Shiva is like yogurt and Lord Krishna is like milk. So it's the same substance.
Yeah.
The same substance. So Lord Shiva is glorified by Lord Brahma, like that in Brahma Samhita. And anyone know what the asan is? I think it's where he's got one leg. You know, they mentioned the asan. He's sitting in the asan. Let's go there. Well, not such an important point, but I can't find it now. Anyway, I mentioned Virya Asan.
Yeah.
Virya Asan. Go on. It's like
a kneeling asana.
Looks like a what?
Kneeling, like sitting on
Kneeling.
your
I think there's a nice, now come to think of it, there's a picture where Parvati is cursing Sati devotee's name, who was laughing at Shiva.
Chitraketu.
Chitraketu. And there, Lord Shiva is sitting there, and he's got one leg over, he's got his right leg with his right leg with the right calf over the left leg.
Mm-hmm.
And his left leg is more out, so like that. So it's a Virya Asana, powerful asana. Anyway, if that's of any interest, anyone's doing yoga out there might be interested. All right, so let's read about. Now we're going to, he wants to be careful. If Lord Shiva gets angry, can be, although he's a Vaishnava. What's where in Bhagavatam, what pastimes come up with Lord Shiva in the Bhagavatam? There's one I'm thinking of, it just comes to mind where he.
Like Chitraketu, Mohini Murti.
Yeah, Mohini Murti. That's an interesting pastime, and I'm sure, excuse me, that Lord Shiva is going to bring this up. But there's another pastime which is quite an exciting pastime. Sort of all exciting in their own way.
Canto 9, I think. I don't remember the name. I know which one.
It's Mohini Murti. When that is amazing pastime. We just did that in Canto 8.
Yeah, that's a wonderful pastime. But there's another one I'm thinking of where
when Krishna was a baby
Masur,
when he enters the arena and cuts off
Bhasmasur.
wait, he cuts off, I can't remember his name now. His head.
Yeah, but there's another one when there's another pastime in Bhagavatam where Lord Shiva.
When he gives the when he's being chased by that demon. And then Krishna,
when he drinks the milk ocean, when he drinks the poison.
But there's another one.
Okay.
When he comes to see Krishna, when Krishna is baby and then knocking on the door and he comes with all these things and Yashodama doesn't let him.
Yeah, that's nice pastime. That's in New Raj Mahima, but it's not in Bhagavatam.
Okay, I've read it somewhere.
Doesn't he have a fight with Lord Vishnu, Krishna? And he releases the Shiva Dwara.
He releases what?
The Shiva Dwara, his weapon.
Yeah, that's the pastime as well, but it's not the one I'm thinking of.
Oh, wow.
So you might as well tell us because you think.
Yeah, we are waiting for it, Murli Prabhu. Please tell us.
I can give you a clue. I can give you a clue.
Let's play a game.
Yeah,
the word sati comes from this.
with Daksha.
Yes, the Daksha Yagna. You got it. Yeah.
Yes, I said that when he comes to cut off his head.
Oh, yeah, he said it. Sorry, perhaps I didn't hear. He
Yes.
cut off Daksha's head and replaces
Head,
it
with a goat's head.
Yeah. But significant there is when Daksha, or when Daksha came into the assembly, and Lord Shiva didn't stand because it was according to the yeah, Daksha was a junior, but Daksha took offense to that, and he blasphemed Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva wasn't affected at all, but he just left because he didn't want to make things worse for Daksha. And then later was what happened later? What did Parvati want to do?
She wanted to go
So
to
offended.
No, I'm sorry, she jumped into the fire, didn't she?
Yeah, she sacrificed herself.
Before
That's
that,
right.
before that, there was a house program. And she wanted to
program, and
go.
she wanted to go to her dad's house because everybody was
Everybody was going, all the sisters and all family was
Yeah,
coming.
all the
That's right.
sisters, all the family were there. The airplanes were flying over.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
And he said no, but she went against his
Sister,
will.
she went, yeah. That's
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
Monica,
She really
yeah.
wants to go to that house program. All the family were there. And then what happened? Then Daksha completely ignored her.
Ignored him.
Yeah, completely ignored her presence. And that was the last of it for her. And she was so ashamed of her body being born from him that she, through yogic trance,
She would like to, yeah. And then she prayed that she wants Lord Shiva, and that's it, no one else.
Yeah, and then Lord Shiva then produced this demon from one hair of his head and came, completely annihilated the sacrifice that Daksha was doing, chopped the head of Daksha. Anyway, so, a little bit of a diversion to Srimad Bhagavatam. It's nice to bring up these different pastimes of Lord Shiva. So let's read a bit more, right?
I'm going to remind Narada with all the things that he did.
Yeah, so let's see what he's going to bring up.
Yeah.
He's going to bring up, because he's a faultless person. So let's see what he brings up as proving that he's not got the mercy of Krishna. So, Kornamai, you'd like to continue for text 17, I think.
Text 17. He then boldly told Narad, with surprise in his voice, just see the most incomprehensible power of the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Commentary. Putting aside his embarrassment, Lord Shiva pointed out to Narad the wonderful uniqueness of the pastimes of the Supreme Lord enacts with his devotees, in which the Lord takes upon himself many severe vows and penances just to win the devotees' blessings. Text 18. Oh, my Lord is so sober. He is such a deep and varied ocean of great qualities. Even though I have committed many kinds of offenses against him, he still does not reject me. Commentary. The ocean is too deep for one to measure. What to speak of diving into it and reaching its bottom? The ocean cannot be moved from its fixed place, and the opposite shore is far beyond anyone's vision. Similarly, the Supreme Lord's qualities are countless. They include every possible kind of greatness, and each of his qualities is unrestricted and boundless. Lord Shiva considered himself offensive to have shown off his own power before Lord Krishna by offering his benedictions. Other offenses he had committed against the Lord were too painful for him to recall, but Sri Krishna never considers anything done by Lord Shiva offensive, since Lord Shiva always acts in this world only to promote the cause of Krishna's devotional service, either directly or indirectly. Text 19. Sri Parikshit said, seeing Lord Shiva completely absorbed in the transcendental taste of pure devotion for Krishna, Narad, pleased beyond limit, grasps Lord Shiva's feet and made him sit down again and spoke to appease him. Text 20. Sri Narad said, "You are so dear to Lord Achyuta, it is possible that you could ever offend him. Though people sometimes see what they think are your offenses, he never sees them at all." Sorry, okay. Text 21 to 22. Bana was a cause of trouble for saintly persons, too proud of the strength of his arms. He used magic to arrest Anirudh and fight against Krishna, the wielder of the disc. When you saw that Bana, your devotee, whom you had maintained like a son, was on the verge of being killed, to save his life, you offered prayers to Sri Hari. Text 23. At once, Lord Krishna put aside his anger. Now pleased, the Lord gave Bana a form like his own and raised him to being one of your associates, a position rarely obtained even by demigods. Commentary. In the fight against Banasur, Lord Krishna had already lifted his Sudarshan disc to kill Bana, his son's enemy, but at that moment, Lord Shiva interceded. Despite Bana's long list of offenses against Vishnu and the Vaishnavas, Bana had one credit of being Lord Shiva's sincere devotee. This impressed Lord Krishna so much that he gave Bana a four-armed form of his own. Shri Krishna then told Lord Shiva, "This demon, who still has 4 arms, will be immune to old age and death. He will serve as one of your principal attendants. Thus, he will have nothing to fear on any account." Text 24. When such enemies of Vaishnavas as Gargya worshipped you by severe penances, the benedictions you gave them were not without loopholes. Commentary. When Gargya and others were inimical to the Yadavs and Pandavas, who were all staunch Vaishnavas, Lord Shiva rewarded their worship with imperfect boons. According to the Brihad Aranyak Upanishad, Gargya Bala...
Hare Krishna. You still there?
I don't know where she's gone.
Frozen.
Is she frozen?
Frozen in time. Okay, I can. She comes back.
Yeah, continue. Yeah.
Garga Balaki was the learned son of the sage Garga, who was too proud of his acquired knowledge. By Lord Shiva's blessings, Gargya obtained a son, but not one who could destroy the Yadu dynasty, as Gargya had wanted. Only one who could frighten and frustrate the Yadus. Similarly, Jayadratha received limited boon that he could only once defeat each of the Pandavas, except Arjuna. Shodakshina was allowed to destroy any enemy of his choice who was not a proper follower of Brahminical culture. But this power ultimately turned against him. The full stories of these hapless devotees of Lord Shiva are recorded in Sri Harivamsa, Vishnu Purana, and Srimad Bhagavatam. Are you there, Kurumai? Can you hear us? Okay, still.
She's gone.
So text 25. Although Chitraketu and others like him foolishly dared criticize you, you never became angry at them because they were surrounded, because they were surrendered devotees of a plenary portion of Lord Hari. Commentary. It is foolish for anyone to criticize Lord Shiva. When Chitraketu committed this mistake, he was not yet a pure Vaishnava. Okay, that's interesting. Otherwise, he would not have exercised his discrimination so wrongly. But Chitraketu, even as a neophyte, had a connection with Lord Shesha, an expansion of Sri Krishna's first expansion, Balaram. So Lord Shiva was not offended by Chitraketu's laughing when Lord Shiva sat with Parvati on his lap in the presence of a group of sages. Text 26. Once, just to please Lord Krishna, he expressed the desire to become even greater than he. But then you very cleverly modified your request, asking him instead to make you his devotee. Commentary. This, in Lord Shiva's opinion, was a particularly egregious offense based on the desire to be worshipped. He confesses in the Brihat Sahasranam Stotra, Padma Purana, Uttarakanda, Lapva Chadatmanaha Pujam, Samyak Haradito Hari, Maya Tasmat Api Shvishtam, Vanchataham Kritatmanaha. When I didn't receive the worship I wanted, I served Lord Hari thoroughly in devotional service, but with the egotistic motive of becoming even greater than he. In this way, Lord Shiva berates himself. But the truth is that even then he acted only for Krishna's pleasure. He thought that Krishna would be displeased by a direct request that Lord Shiva become his servant. Since Krishna is self-effacing by nature, he does not like exalted persons like Shiva to act subordinate to him. So Lord Shiva instead submitted what seemed the opposite request. Krishna had declared his servant greater than himself. More important than worshipping me is worshipping my devotee. Bhagavatam 11, 19, 21. And therefore Lord Shiva cleverly asked for that greater position. Lord Shiva had also once overheard Krishna, while playing dice with his queen, Rukmini, declare his devotee even more glorious than himself, in order to lure the dice into acting as his devotees by serving him nicely. Okay. Text 27. Therefore, the Supreme Lord granted you and the goddess Durga the authority to give liberation. Liberation for which Brahma and many others pray. Commentary. Without Lord Vishnu's personal sanction, no one can become freed from the cycle of birth and death. Harim vina naiva shrutim taranti, Bhavata Deepaka 1087-27. Moreover, Lord Vishnu abides by such statements from the Vedic sastras, which constitute his own laws. But having promised Lord Shiva a position even better than his own, Lord Vishnu deputed to both Lord Shiva and his wife the power to bestow liberation on his behalf. Okay. Just see, as though you have the power and opulence unobtainable by Brahma and the other demigods, you disregard your material happiness and live like a holy madman. Always fixed in the trance of devotion to Lord Vishnu, you appear totally insane. Who else but you would go dance naked with his wife and attendants? Today I finally seen your amazing, uncontrollable eagerness to serve the Supreme Lord in pure devotion. No wonder Krishna always loves you the most. Just read this and then we'll stop. Comments, text 41. I just do translation. What more can I say? Krishna's love for you is never interrupted, and by your mercy, many others have become dear to him. Commentary. Narada is amazed that the greatest master of yoga discipline, the chief of self-satisfied sages, the husband of material nature, completely disregards common standards of cultured behavior. He does not even walk or dance normally. Lord Shiva's natural expressions of his inner feelings, if exhibited by anyone else, will be considered unacceptable or insane. Narada understands, however, that Lord Shiva's unusual behavior is a sign of his exceptional greatness as a Vaishnava, who deeply tastes the ecstasies of devotional exchanges with the Supreme Person. Therefore, many serious aspirants for spiritual perfection, such as the 10 Pachetas, have taken shelter of Lord Shiva to obtain the rare gift of Vishnu Bhakti. Okay? Hare Krishna. So that's nice prayers as well. Prayers by the Pachetas given by Lord Shiva. That's there in Srimad Bhagavatam as well. But any comments? dare I say, complaints about the behavior of Lord Shiva. Certainly it would be probably, it would not be acceptable if anyone was dancing naked in a kirtan. That person would be properly tossed out of the temple as being a madman, but not Lord Shiva. So we can perhaps appreciate the position of Lord Shiva. Just trying to change my screen view here so I can see people. Yeah. Yeah, I see. Okay. Yeah. Anything that we recall there about Lord Shiva? Many pastimes is brought up there. I'm not familiar with many of these pastimes. They're from different Puranas of Lord Shiva, of these bhaktas being a little bit arrogant and praying for the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing, but just because they're 10% devotees of Lord Shiva. Was it Bana, who got a form of Vishnu?
Yeah.
Although he was quite, he was behaving very badly. But because he was very dear to Shiva and vice versa, then Lord Krishna gave him mercy.
But isn't it here that it says that he's none different from Krishna, because that's the only reason, because he's an expansion of Krishna in the form of Shiva.
Yeah. So,
and he's got these powers. So it's like saying that Krishna prefers you being kind to the devotees rather than me directly praying to me. It's the same thing, isn't it? That
yeah. Good point. Yeah, and also Lord Shiva's been giving the license,
yes,
prerogative to actually give liberation.
Both of them, him and Parvati.
Yeah, Parvati.
Yeah.
But that's not given, that prerogative is not given to Lord Brahma or any of the other demigods.
No.
And even further than that, by Lord Shiva's grace, because he's the spiritual master of Vaishnavas as well, so he can bring one to pure devotion.
Yes, but that's what he does. He's always meditating on Krishna. That's why he was insulted by Daksha and didn't bother him, because
it's always
completely immersed in remembering Krishna.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, thank you, Radhika. That's why he was unaffected by that very harsh insult, actually, coming from Daksha. And it's not easy, is it, to bear insult? I'm sure we've all been at the end of insult coming from one direction or another, and sometimes it does make your blood boil.
It does. Our egos get the better of us, Prabhu.
Yeah. Actually, we can pray as one of the it's one of the reasons to pray to Lord Shiva, because he resides over false ego.
Yeah.
So, but an interesting, but generally we directly worship Krishna. But it's there in Bhagavatam. One can also pray to Lord Shiva, the same as we pray to our spiritual masters for mercy.
Yeah.
We can pray to the Lord's devotees for mercy. So specifically, if we're having a tough time with false identification with this body, or gross or subtle, we can fall at Lord Shiva's feet, beg him for forgiveness. Yeah. Did anybody attend this seminar that, I forget his name, Prabhupada disciple who's really into Lord Shiva? What's his name?
Isn't it Ram something?
Yeah, Ramana Sutta.
Yeah.
He's really into Lord Shiva. I mean,
he really is into Lord Shiva, yes.
Yeah, he's pulled me aside every time he's pulled me aside in the temple, and Shiva Ratri. Anyway, he did this nice seminar. Him and Kartik Chandra did it together at the manor. Did anybody attend that?
No.
Oh, yeah.
I was supposed
It's
to.
there
but I
online.
didn't.
Yeah, him and Kartik Chandra will do the
Yes.
whole session glorifying Lord Shiva.
Yeah.
And so I remember Ramanath Sutta pointing out that, and he was reminding me as well that, yeah, Lord Shiva, we can pray to him. If sometimes we may feel that, for one reason or another, we may feel so out there, out of it, that we might be hesitant to approach Krishna himself. So we can always have an intermediary of a Lord Shiva.
Yeah.
And pray to Lord Shiva. Yeah. Yata Vaishnav Yata Shambho.
Yeah. Yes.
Lord Shiva. So, all right, 7 o'clock. I'm just curious. Does anyone know who we're going to next? If you know, I mean, I don't know. I haven't.
We will next go to Shiva.
Where's Lord Shiva going to send Narada? Is where he's going to send him?
I think it's not Dhruva.
Hanuman? Maybe Hanuman?
No. Oh yeah, we've got to go to Hanuman. No, Hanuman comes later. Is it?
You lot have read it. Labanga, you lot have been reading it.
Yeah. So.
Can you?
Like,
No, maybe it's the Pandavas.
The Pandavas, okay. All right,
no, Pandavas come right towards the end. Because they've got to go through Prahlad Maharaj, they've got to go through, Hanuman doesn't come here, Hanuman comes later.
Perhaps I can give you all some more homework again. You can just find out where he's going next.
I think.
To find out, Narada wants to know that what train he has to catch next.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be kicked out of Shiva Loka, so he's going to go somewhere else now. He's going to fly off somewhere else.
For it.
Yeah. All right, so perhaps we'll hear that. We're going to hear that next week.
Not
okay,
next
for joining us.
Which day you going? So we cancel.
I guess I better look, isn't it?
Look at no, and when
yeah, I think I'm going. I think it's Thursday. Anyway, we're confirmed. Yeah, I think it is Thursday actually. Going Thursday, coming back Tuesday. So next Thursday we will not be able to do. So it'll be the week after.
Right. Next Thursday, and then we'll do it the following Wednesday. If you're coming back.
Yeah, because I'm coming back Tuesday. So we'll pick things up again next Wednesday.
Just give me a look at your dates and let me know. So then we can.
Yeah, I should confirm that. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, thank you everyone. Wonderful reading. Thank you.
Thank you, Murli Prabhu. He's great. Murli Prabhu ki jai.